cuties, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to see you all here. Today I'm back with another lovely sewing tutorial. You and I are going to make this beautiful velvet dress. It's a very detailed and beginner friendly tutorial, so even if you're new to sewing you can still make it. Also, I have a good news for you guys. I made a pattern for this dress. And the best part is that it is completely free. This was my first time making a pattern for the dress, so I tried my best and specially kept it free so all of you guys can check it out and give me feedback. It's a written PDF pattern. It contains all the measurements, all the instructions and everything. You can get the pattern from the link in my description, or you can DM me on my Instagram and I will send it to you. If you girlies are not following me on my Instagram, go ahead and let's connect. I share all of my BTS, the projects that I'm working on, and all those things there. Also a little more about me so we can talk. You can DM me. I'm always free to talk to my girls. Now for the materials, all you need is velvet fabric, any color of your choice, a zipper for easy in and out of the dress, some elastic for our puff sleeves, and some ribbon to tie the dress in the bag. The zipper and the ribbon, they should be the same color as your fabric. Now before we get started, let me explain the dress construction to you guys so you are prepared, plus how you can take your own measurements if you wish to use your own. So the dress is pretty simple. It only has two panels, one for the front and one for the back, and two panels for the both of our sleeves. It is sort of an A-line dress for the bottom part, and on the top it has a V neckline, some puff sleeves, and the dress length is slightly above the knee. Obviously you can modify if you want to. For the measurements, till the waist, we are going to use our exact body measurements, plus add 1 inch for seam allowance on each panel. So till your bust, around the ribs and waist, so slightly above your belly button, till there we are going to use our exact body measurement. We want it to be slightly body hugging till that part. After that it eventually keeps increasing for the A-line effect. You can see how much exactly you have to increase in the pattern. To identify the length, you can measure starting from your shoulders till the length you desire it to be, plus add 1 inch for seam allowance and hemming. Also, go ahead and measure how deep you want your V neckline to be. And lastly, measure your armhole. You can also use a similar top or dress that you have with similar fabric. Now for the sleeves, you can measure the length starting from where the dress's armhole ends till where you want it to be. Then measure your dress's armhole to identify the length of the upper curve of your sleeve. Lastly, measure around your biceps and where the sleeve ends. Now we are going to add a few inches to it because it's a puff sleeve, so it needs to be more voluminous. Again, you can find the details of how much to increase in the pattern. Alright, now let's start making the dress. We are going to start off by marking and cutting our base panels for the dress, the front and the back. Let's begin with the front panel. What I like to do for the most symmetrical cut is fold the fabric in half and work with half of the measurements on one side. That way when we cut, both sides come out perfectly even. So fold your fabric in half and pin it together so it doesn't move. Just place a few pins here and there to keep it secure. The full measurements plus the half folded fabric measurements and also how you can modify it using your own measurements if you wish are all mentioned in the pattern. Once you've got your measurements ready, mark them on the folded fabric using chalk. After marking, go ahead and carefully cut out the piece. Make sure the bottom layer of fabric doesn't shift while cutting. We want clean and even lines. Next, we will use the exact same method for the back panel. Fold the fabric in half, pin it down, mark with chalk using your measurements and then cut it out. Once that's done, you'll have your front and back panels ready, which should look something like this. And now we can move on to the next step. Now we are moving on to the next step, which is forming the base of our dress by joining the front and back panels together. Start by placing the front panel on top of the back panel with the good sides facing each other. Once you've got them aligned, go ahead and pin down the two sides of the dress and the straps on top. This will hold everything in place before sewing. Next, let's sew using a zigzag stitch. If your machine doesn't have a zigzag option, you can use a straight stitch. Just go over it more than once to make sure the seams are secure. One quick note about velvet fabric, it tends to fray more easily, so if you're worried about fraying, run a narrow zigzag stitch along the raw edges to prevent it. Once the front and back panels are joined, the next step is hemming the raw edges. We are going to hem both the neckline from front to back and the bottom hemline of the dress. Here's how. Flip the dress inside out and fold about half an inch of fabric along the neckline and bottom hemline. Lightly iron the folds so they stay in place, then pin them down. After that, sew using a straight stitch all around the neckline and the bottom edge of the dress. And that's it for this step. Next, let's go ahead and attach our zipper. If you're using a stretchy velvet fabric, you can totally skip this part, but for everyone else, we will need a zipper to make it easier to get in and out of the dress. First, place your dress with the front side facing down and back side on top. Take your zipper and with chalk, mark a straight line down the center of the back that's about 1.5 inches shorter than your zipper length. Make sure the line is perfectly straight and right in the middle of the dress. Then go ahead and cut along that line. Now let's hem the raw edges we just created. Fold each edge in by 1.5 cm and sew them down with a zigzag stitch to keep everything neat and prevent fraying. Once that's done, it's time to attach the zipper. Place the zipper along the opening, pin both sides carefully and sew it down using a straight stitch. And that's it, your base dress is ready. You guys are doing so well, don't forget to take breaks whenever you need to. Now let's move on to the sleeves. Now it's time to make our sleeves. For puff sleeves, the sleeve panel looks a little different. The upper curve is bigger than a normal sleeve because we need that extra fabric for the puff. Basically, the top curve should measure your armhole length plus a little more, and the rest is based on your arm circumference, again with a few extra inches added. The exact measurements are mentioned in the pattern. If you'd like me to make a separate detailed tutorial just on how to draft a sleeve pattern, let me know in the comments, because I know sleeves can feel a little complicated, especially for beginners. For now, let's go ahead and cut two sleeve panels. Make sure to mark which one is the right and which is the left. One important thing to remember is that the front part of the sleeve curve is always a little lower than the back part. So for the right sleeve, the right side of the curve dips slightly lower, and for the left sleeve, the left side dips lower. A neat trick: after cutting the first sleeve, you can use it as a stencil for the second one. Just be sure to place the fabric with both good sides facing each other or both wrong sides facing each other so the sleeves come out mirrored. When you fold them in half, you should see that the front curve dips lower than the back curve. That means you've cut them correctly. Now let's start forming our sleeve. First, hem the bottom edge, fold about half an inch towards the wrong side, pin it in place and sew it down using a straight stitch. Do this for both sleeves. Next, we will create the puff effect using elastic. Cut 2 pieces of elastic, either the same as your arm circumference or a little smaller if you want a tighter fit. Divide the elastic into 3 parts by pinning both ends and the center, then pin it onto the sleeve panel just above the hem, aligning the ends and the center with the fabric. Sew the elastic in place using 2 straight stitches, one along the top edge and one along the bottom edge of the elastic. Make sure to stretch the elastic as you sew so the sleeve stays stretchy afterward. Repeat this step on both sleeves. Once done, the bottom of your sleeve should look gathered like this. So pretty, right? Now let's join the sleeves. Fold each sleeve in half with the good sides facing each other. Pin along the raw edge and sew it with a zigzag stitch. Repeat for both sleeves. At this point, try on your sleeves to check the fit. It shouldn't be too tight or too loose. Finally, let's create the gathers at the top of the sleeve. Place the sleeve so the big curve is at the top. We will only be gathering the front half of that top curve, not the entire sleeve. Pin the sides to mark your starting and ending points. Then sew a loose straight stitch, also called a gather stitch, across that curve, leaving a long tail of thread at the end. We will use that thread to pull and gather the fabric later. Repeat for both sleeves. And that's it for this step. Alright, let's move on to the next step, attaching our sleeves to the dress. First, lay your dress flat and flip your sleeve inside out. Pass the sleeve through the armhole so the curves match up. Now align the seams of the dress and the sleeve and pin them together. Start pinning from the bottom and slowly make your way up toward the top of the sleeve. Pin it till you reach the section where we did the gather stitches earlier, and then gently pull the threads to gather the fabric until it matches the size of the armhole. Make sure your gathers are nice and even all around. Once everything is pinned, sew it together with a zigzag stitch all the way around. Then repeat the exact same process for the other sleeve, and that's it. Okay guys, we are on to our very last step, which is attaching the ribbon. First, cut out 2 pieces of ribbon that are long enough so you can comfortably tie them at the back of your dress. Once you've cut them, lightly burn the edges so they don't fray. Next, try on your dress and decide exactly where you want the ribbons to sit around your waist. Mark those spots using chalk, safety pins or whatever works best for you. Just make sure both sides are aligned and parallel so they match. Now grab your needle and thread and hand sew the ribbons onto the sides where you marked. Try sewing them towards the back so that when you tie them, it naturally faces backwards. And that's it. Oh my god, we did it. The dress is officially complete. I'm so proud of you guys for making it this far. Now let's check out the final result and take a full view of our gorgeous dress. I'm so glad being able to help. Let me know how your dress turned out. You can share your results with me on Instagram again. I would love to check them out, or if you post, you can also tag me. Alright, hope to see all of you here again in the next video. I love you guys so much. Have a great day. Bye.